أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. Hope you are all here and hearty over there at your homes and enjoying your lives and studies. Here I have come up with yet another class for you. This is your chapter number 5th from your prose section, that is the sermon at Banaras. As we have completed two chapters, we have already recorded two chapters for you. The first one was I have recorded three chapters for you, one from poetry section, one from the short story section, and one from the prose section. Here again, this is from your prose section, the sermon at Banaras. And as usually we have you have been given the way you have been prescribed it, you have been presented the chapters in your books is that the book has been divided into different sections. Here you have been given a brief introduction about the author, the sermon at Banaras. That is an extract from the Buddha's sermon. So before we actually read what he is telling us in this story, through this story, you have been given the introduction of the author, the Buddha. So here the sermon at Banaras, Bertha Renstow is the author. Siddhartha Gautama 569 BC and 483 BC. A young prince raised in a life of royal ease and protected from the miseries and cruelties of the world outside the palace gates, underwent a spiritual transformation that made him the Buddha, the enlightened one. Now, the Buddha, actually, he was not that sort of a person as we have been thinking about. We have been the way he has been presented in the world. If we go through his life, brood over a little bit over his life, delve deep inside his life, he was a prince, and he was protected from and he was raised in a life in a royal ease. That prince Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, was something happened in his life that he had underwent a spiritual transformation and transformed that prince, who was protected from all the cruelties and miseries of life outside the palace gate, was completely transformed and was now being known as the Buddha, the enlightened one. अब ये enlightened क्या होता है? Enlightened means having knowledge and spiritual insight. अब insight means deep perception. When we use our five outer senses and five inner senses, when we use all the faculties that have been bestowed upon us by the Lord to understand the depth of anything, that is called insight. So he is someone who has been transformed from a princess, one who was in a luxurious or living a luxurious life, was completely transformed from a royal prince to a Buddha that has renounced all the worldly pleasures. This is what you have been told, first of all. And the prince renounced his family. Now this is as you have been already told that there is a chapter in the mysticism, mystic traditions of every religion. Islam also has a side of this thing, that is asceticism. This has different forms in different parts of the world. If we talk of India, the subcontinent, we have seen asceticism in the form of the sadhus, the Buddhas, the monks, lamas. These are all sorts of asceticism, but Islamic perspective has something else, a different meaning of asceticism. It doesn't mean to renounce all the things, because we have been told by the Prophet that one who left out the world for the sake of the day of judgment, Qiyamah, he is not from us. And one who forgets about the Qiyamah and think about only the world, that person too is not from us. So being in the middle path is what we have been asked to follow by or observe by the Prophet. So asceticism has different meanings in different contexts. Now, as we have been reading about Buddha, he renounced all these things. This is what called in traditions of Buddhist studies and the Hindu studies is called asceticism. तो the prince renounced his family, अपने घर को छोड़ देता है, fortune, the दौलत जो उसके पास था, the wealth he had, he also left that, and kingdom in pursuit of liberation. Now he want liberation. In pursuit of liberation, he left his family, he left his fortune, and all these things. He was deeply struck by a profound question. He was deeply struck. He was struck by what? A profound, a big question. That was, what was the question? How can the sufferings of the world can be ended? Now, it's the suffering of the world is a presence in the current situation, in the present era, the time in which we are living. There is all sorts of sufferings, especially if you look at the Middle East, the oriental part of the world, Middle East. There are sufferings since 2015. The Yemeni peoples are being bombarded. What is this if not suffering? Okay, suffering नहीं तो क्या है? There's other sufferings as well as there is. If you look at the Palestine, the people in Palestine, they were being suppressed from since 1948, since the establishment of the Zionist regime, and there are other things. There are so many things in our life. We need to just open our eyes. Take it. So he was also struck by the profound question, that how can we end the sufferings of the world? Although he doesn't believe in Islam, still he is asking. So being a human being, one could, if one think as a human being, he could definitely ask this question: how can these sufferings can be ended out in the world? So he was struck by this question, and as he was deeply moved by the plight of the people suffering from poverty, sickness, and old age. Now, what happened in his life? He was deeply moved. Moved यानी he was deeply touched. छू गया जो कहते हैं हम उसको उर्दू में, by the plight. Plight होता है pain, especially mental pain को कहते हैं plight. ठीक है, being excited or provoked. Moved इसका मतलब ये है उसको excite किया और provoke किया by the plight यानी दर्द ने, दुख दर्द ने, किसके? of people suffering, जो लोग underwent, जो गुजर रहे हैं किससे? from poverty से, sickness से, and old age से. So he became a wandering ascetic there. Once again, that I just mentioned a few minutes ago, that asceticism is what he is doing here from the other perspective. So he became a wandering ascetic. He वो एक ascetic साधु बन जाता है, sage बन जाता है. Practiced yogic disciplines and meditation. Yogic disciplines, yoga. I don't have that much knowledge about yoga, but it is said that if you start practicing yoga, it is trying the yogic practice tries to draw out all the thinkings of a human being in his mind, try to purify his sense of thinking from all sorts of different problems that we face in our life. बिल्कुल किस तरह के एक तरह का खाली कर देना बिल्कुल जहन को, इस तरह का योगा का एक आइडिया सुना है. अब यहाँ तक कहाँ तक सही है ये नहीं पता. अब yogic discipline and meditation is tadabbur, गौर व फिक्र, thinking about any subject with great focus, इसको कहते हैं meditation have been recommended, and we have been asked to observe meditation on different occasions, because in the traditions of Islam it is said that performing prayers, 70-time prayers, is equivalent to think or brood over a subject for a moment. एक लम्हे के लिए आप सोचना शुरू कर दें, meditation करें, गौर व फिक्र करें, not the meditation of the ascetic, the Hindu or the Buddhist system of meditation. तो इसके लिए इतना importance है. तो ये क्या करना शुरू कर देता है? योगिक discipline practice करता है, meditation करता है. He also practiced. अब यहाँ पे practiced देखो, practice दो तरह लिखा होता है, PRATICE होता है, वो noun होता है. Here when we use the practice with ISED, that is used as a verb. So he also practiced severe forms of asceticism. Yani severe, he is intensely practicing the extremely to the extreme extent of almost to the point of death by starvation. इस हद तक कि भूख से मर जाए, इस हद तक वो asceticism करता है कि बिल्कुल तर्क कर दे जाए. उसके बाद क्या होता है? But all in vain, मगर किसी काम का नहीं होता है. That doesn't give him any result. Finally, he sat under a Bodhi tree. Determined not to rise from meditation unless he found answers to his question. Now he pledged himself, he vowed with himself कि अपने आप से कसम खाता है कि he would not raise out of meditation until he got answers to his questions. तो यहाँ पे ये करता है. Buddha's main objective was to eliminate human sufferings. There, he has an objective in his mind. As we have already told you, anything you want to do in your life, that purpose came in your mind for the at the very beginning, but it is realized, or it is actualized, attained at the end of the day. How? Because if we want to do something, we need something. For example, if you want to carry out an experiment in your laboratory, you need these solutions, beakers and others, laboratory light, electric power and others, and methods and teacher. And when you got all these things complete, you achieve what you have thought about. So he also thought about his objective in life. What did he do for that? That is another question. But his main objective was to eliminate yani khatam kar dena, to end, to do away with the human sufferings in the world. His Four Noble Truths, he has given a path that is called Four Noble Truths, are a key to eliminate all human agony. Agony, once again, pain. Plight, agony, pain, these are all synonyms. So human agony, human pains, how to end this, he thought about it. The first human suffering, agony, the first human suffering, पहला जो इंसान का suffering होता है, his Four Noble Truths are key to eliminate. The first noble truth, ठीक है, थोड़ा सा गलती हो गया. The first noble truth says, अब यहाँ पे देखो, the first noble truth says, ठीक है, यहाँ पे देखो, आपको यहाँ पे ग्रामर लिखा हुआ है. हालांकि ये मैंने दूसरे क्लास के लिए लिखा हुआ था, लेकिन हमें जब ग्रामर होता है तो उसमें सबसे पहले फर्स्ट पर्सन, सेकंड पर्सन, थर्ड पर्सन पता होना होता है. और जब भी हम लिखते हैं तो अब सिंपल प्रेजेंट में हम जब लिखेंगे तो थर्ड पर्सन के साथ हम एस लगाते हैं. देखिए यहाँ पे शी राइट्स इस तरह से लिखा हुआ है, तो एस लगाते हैं. जैसे कि गो होगा तो ई एस लगाते हैं. जब कोई वो ओ पे एंड होगा तो ई एस लगाते हैं. अगर वाई पे एंड होता है तो उसके आगे वॉवेल होगा. जैसे कि प्ले है, ए वाई होगा तो उसको आई में चेंज करके ई एस लगाते हैं. तो जैसे कि फ्लाई होगा तो द बर्ड फ्लाइज होगा, आई ई एस होगा. तो ही गोज, शी गोज, इस तरह से. आई राइट होगा, लेकिन शी राइट्स इस तरह से होता है. तो यहाँ पे देखो, द फर्स्ट नोबल ट्रूथ, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द थर्ड पर्सन थिंग. तो द फर्स्ट नोबल ट्रूथ वो क्या कहता है, सेज, वो कहता है दैट लाइफ इज फुल ऑफ सफरिंग्स. अब देखो, लाइफ इज फुल ऑफ सफरिंग्स. दिस इज ऑल्सो रिटन इन अ सिंपल प्रेजेंट टेंस because it's this is telling you a truth. Here I have written that a verb shows three things. One of them is the fact, the existence, or the state of a thing. So the life is full of sufferings. It's a fact. That is why it is written in simple present tense. So यहाँ पे क्या लिखा है इसने? The first noble truth says what? That life is full of suffering and pain. दुनिया, दर्द जो है, जिंदगी जो है वो दर्द और मुश्किलात से भरी हुई है. द सेकंड नोबल ट्रूथ इज दैट, सेकंड नोबल ट्रूथ इज, दोबारा है, ये क्या है, दैट पेन इज कॉज्ड बाय ह्यूमन डिजायर्स. नाउ ह्यूमन डिजायर्स, if we talk about desires, it's in Dua Kumail that Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam says, I haven't reached up to you, O my Lord, just because of the long and इसको क्या कहते हैं, that's the actual word was I forgot about it. यानी जो लंबी लंबी आरज़ू हैं, उसको एक वर्ड है इंग्लिश में लेकिन भूल गया है. उनकी वजह से मैं तुम तक नहीं पहुंच सका, मैं आप तक नहीं पहुंच सका, खुदा कहता है. तो this is what there are different perspectives, but he is telling that sufferings are caused by the longing desires of the human beings and ambitions होता है to have something, to want to be something, to a strong desire to have or do something. इस चीज़ को कहते हैं ambition होना. तो ये इंसान को तकलीफ देता है. The third noble truth says, अब ये third noble truth says, फिर से third person है. अब दे the third, आपको बोला था ordinals के साथ the first, the second, the third, इसका द लगा होता है, यहाँ पे लगा हुआ है. He has used the with the ordinals. The third noble truth says that liberation from pain and suffering is possible, and the fourth noble truth says how to attain this liberation. Now he talks about it. Now he wants to end the sufferings in the world, and he tells us about the four truths. But the final, the last truth, that says that liberation can be possible, can be attained. But the fourth truth says how to attain this liberation. It describes the noble eightfold path leading to nirvana. Nirvana is complete salvation. वहाँ पे इसमें अब इस चीज़ में क्या किया हुआ है, हाउ टू अटेन लिबरेशन में इट डिस्क्राइब्स, देखो अब ये जो उसका फोर्थ नोबल ट्रूथ है इट, वो डिस्क्राइब पे एस लगा हुआ है, देखो डिस्क्राइब्स, फिर वही वाला डिस्क्राइब्स करता है, वो क्या करता है, डिस्क्राइब्स क्या करता है, द नोबल एट फोल्ड पाथ। अब ये द नोबल एट फोल्ड पाथ यानी 8 पहलुओं वाला जो रास्ता उसने बताया है, लीडिंग टू निर्वाणा, जो आपको कहाँ पहुंचाता है, तो कंप्लीट सेल्वेशन तक। स्टेट ऑफ परफेक्ट ब्लिस, ब्लिस मीन्स स्टेट ऑफ एक्सट्रीम हैप्पीनेस एंड ecstatic world, a utopia where there is no requirement of improvement further, any further, वहाँ पे कोई requirement improvement की chance नहीं होते हैं। So this is you have been given a brief introduction about the author, the sermon at Banaras sermon. You have been asked a question about what is a sermon and what is a lecture. I have given this the question answers over there at the Microsoft app. I have uploaded the files over there. You can check over there if you want to know the answers, question answers, and if you want to ask me directly, you can send me a message on WhatsApp. I can also deliver over there the question answers. So the actual story now begins. It's Gautama Buddha began life as a prince named Siddhartha Gautama. This is once again you have been told that he began his life as Siddhartha Gautama, named as a prince. In northern India, he was in northern India. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures, and 4 years later returned home to marry a princess. Now, he was sent at 12 for schooling in a Hindu sacred scriptures. Scriptures hota hai the written text of the religious written texts. Different religions have their texts. This is called scriptures. And sacred yani muqaddas or pak, holy scriptures. And 4 years later he returned home to marry a princess. This is what you have been given introduction. Once again, they had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. Now they live it for 10 years. They have a son. How they live it is befitted to royalty. The way the royal, the shahi जो लोग जिंदगी गुजारते हैं, like befitted royalty means जो उनको मुनासिब होता है उसके हिसाब से उसने जिंदगी गुजारा 10 साल. अब क्या होता है? At the age of 25, now the prince heretofore shielded from the sufferings of the world. The princess at the age of 25 क्या होता है? Heretofore यानी यहाँ से पहले, for पहले को कहते हैं, जैसे कि before होता है, तो heretofore अब से पहले क्या हुआ था? Shielded, completely protected from the sufferings of the world. दुनिया के sufferings से उसको रोका हुआ था. Shield जो आपको कहते हैं जान फली ज़ेदे, उसने protect करने के लिए यूज़ करते हैं, तो ये भी shielded हो, protect किया हुआ था, क्योंकि royal जिंदगी गुजार रहा था, उसको कुछ नहीं पता था. So from the sufferings of the world, while out hunting, chanced upon a sick man. While out hunting, when he was going out for a hunting somewhere, he chanced upon a man, a sick person he saw when he was going for that hunting purpose. Then an aged man, then he come across an aged person, and then a funeral procession. Funeral procession means जो मदफन जो आखिरी जो फनरल यानी कफन दफन का जो रस्म करते हैं हम, जुलूस प्रोसेशन को कहते हैं, तो उसको नज़र आता है, वहाँ से वो गुजरता है. एंड फाइनली अ मॉन्क बेगिंग फॉर आर्म्स. आर्म्स यानी चैरिटी, खैरात, इसके लिए बेगिंग करते हुए, इल्तिजा करते हुए वो एक मॉन्क को देखता है. मॉन्क कोई लामा या राहिब भी, कुरान में भी ये वर्ड है, राहिब है, इस तरह से तरक्की किया हुआ. अब वो क्या करता है, साधु भी कह सकता हो, वो इस तरह से मांग रहा था. These sights so moved him. This sight completely touched his heart. He was completely protected, shielded before that. So these sights touched him that he at once became a beggar and went out into the world to seek enlightenment concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. Now, there are some of the things he came across that made him completely transformed in his life, because he saw the main suffering, the monk begging for alms, an aged man, and the funeral procession this was taking place, and the people, the relatives might be possible they were crying, waiting for the deceased person. So these were something that some of the things that he saw, and he was struck out completely, and he thought about it, that how the world is full of sufferings. As he was shielded, he don't know, he decided at once एकदम से फैसला कर लेता है to go out and become a beggar to seek enlightenment. Enlightenment होता है रोशन ख्याली, complete knowledge about the world, या deep insight into the world, ये कहते हैं. बसीरत कहते हैं उर्दू में, कुरान में भी है, दुआओं में भी है, देख लेना किताबें. बसीरत बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ होती है. तो these sides so moved him. अच्छा ये हो गया. And enlightenment concerning the sorrows of he had witnessed, the sorrows he had seen, the way on the way he was going out for went hunting. These so he wanted to seek enlightenment concerning these sorrows. He wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a fig tree. He wandered for 7 years, went here and there for 7 years and sat down under a fig tree. Fig tree के नीचे बैठ जाता है. Fig tree शायद आपको जो टकुशु कहते हैं वही होता है शायद. Where he vowed, where he pledged himself, उसने अपने आप से कसम खाया to stay until enlightenment came, कि वहीं पे बैठेगा जब तक कि उसको knowledge complete ना मिल जाए, enlightenment ना हो जाए, रोशन ख्याल ना हो जाए उसको. इसका जो मतज़द गाफिलून जो कुरान में वर्ड यूज़ किया है तो वही तो है. हम लोग गाफिल हैं, हम सोचते हैं हमारी आंखें खुली हैं, हमारी आंखें खुली भी नहीं है. ये बात याद रखना. Enlightened after 7 days, 7 दिनों के बाद अब वो enlightened हो जाता है, उसको एकदम से इल्हाम हो जाता है, उसको पता नहीं क्या हो जाता है, जो भी हो गया वो एकदम से 7 दिन के बाद उसको सब कुछ जवाब मिल जाता है. He renamed the tree Bo tree, यानी the tree of wisdom. Wisdom is a word that is also used in Quran. Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam has a saying that the wisdom is the lost property of the believer. Let him find it out wherever he find, be it in the hands of an atheist person who don't believe in God. So wisdom is that important. And in Quran, in chapter number 3, tilka जो separa number 3, sorry, separa number 3 है, not chapter number 3. It's separa number 3 where the Quran says yu'til hikmata faqad utiya khairan kaseera. If someone has been given wisdom from Almighty Allah, he has given a lot of things, a lot. So wisdom is an important part in our life. We need to look at that as well. So he named that tree, the fig tree, as Bo tree, the tree of wisdom, and began to teach and share his new understanding, what he had now understood. Perception. Perception means, I have already told that, using all faculties to have a in-depth meaning, understanding of the world or the things, the phenomena that are going on around us. तो उसको कहते हैं. तो परसेप्शन के बाद वो अपने जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है उसको प्रीच करता है, पढ़ाता है, तबलीग करता है. एट दैट पॉइंट ही बिकेम नोन एज द बुद्धा. वहाँ पे उसको बुद्धा कहा जा रहा था, द अवेकेंड और एनलाइटेंड, यानी वो जागा हुआ है, बिल्कुल बाखबर और रोशन ख्याल है. इस तरह से उसको जाना जाना है. द बुद्धा preached his first sermon at the city of Banaras. That's why the name of the chapter is called the Sermon at Banaras. Sermon, actually it's a lecture, as I have given you answers that although lecture and sermons contain the same meaning of preaching the people, but the sermon has a broad sphere or dimension as far as concerned to the preaching is concerned, because it addresses the social, the religious, and the metaphysical part of the world. And it means it has the sermon is a comprehensive idea of preaching, while lecture means to preach a specific group of people or person in a specific time, given time and place, to a class or a group of people. तो इसको कहते हैं लेक्चर. तो इसमें यह फर्क होता है. तो अब ये उसने सरमन दिया है यहाँ पे, सरमन एट द सिटी ऑफ बनारस, मोस्ट होली ऑफ द डिपिंग प्लेसेस ऑन द रिवर Ganges. अब देखो द रिवर Ganges, keep this in mind that whenever we use the name of a river, it is always begin with the definite article the. This is also useful for you in the grammar portion. तो द रिवर Ganges यहाँ पे डिपिंग प्लेस है, यानी डुबकी मारने का सबसे मुकद्दस प्लेस जो है, होली प्लेस है, जो गंगा पे है. तो यहाँ पे उसने पहला खुतबा दिया. This sermon has been preserved and it has been preserved. Now this is used in active passive. Has been preserved. Who preserved it? This is preserved by someone. As we have told you already that we use active passive to emphasize the action when we don't know the author, don't know about the author, or we don't want to mention the author. So here you have been given in your book, it has been used that sermon has been preserved and is given here, it reflects Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. Inscrutable, something that you cannot examine, something that you cannot analyze completely, उसको कहते हैं inscrutable, यानी जिसकी जांच पड़ताल आप नहीं कर सकते. One of the suffering has been discussed over here in this chapter. So keep it here. Inshallah we will take it further to the end in the next class. Hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you for your kind attention. Thanks once again.